actual drinking history started at the age of 16 because my parents bought me a bottle of wine for my birthday and said that I needed to loosen up and start becoming part of the crowd. I'm a binge drinker, or I was a binge drinker. I got married at 17, just turned 17. Had a baby at 17. He was a little over a year old when my first husband joined the military, and we moved to Texas. And it was like naturally a whole different world from somebody that comes from a little country town in Maine. And I ended up having another child, a daughter, right after we moved to Texas. So I left my son and my daughter quite a lot with my ex-husband, and I was on the run with whoever would go with me to bars. It got worse. It just continually got worse. It was the chaos and the drama that I knew, what I grew up with. I knew it. I was comfortable with it. He divorced me 15 years after that wedding. I had 3 children at the time, and I walked off and left them with their father because I knew in my gut what my life was going to be like, and I didn't want them a part of it. There was one afternoon that I was supposed to pick my daughter up from school, and I went to the bar with the girls, and I lost complete track of time. And as I was leaving the parking lot, my ex-husband was coming up the drive like, "What the hell are you doing? Your daughter is waiting for you at school." I have never, and I probably never will, forgive myself for that. And I went to work a couple of days after that, and I was talking to a friend of mine in the break room about it. And as I was talking to her about it, a social worker came into the break room and said, "You girls might want to take a look at your drinking and your behavior. You might want to think about some counseling." Well, I also worked with a young lady whose mom was an alcohol and drug counselor, and I started seeing her. And I saw her for a lot of years. I chased her around the town of Bangor because she kept moving offices. And then shortly after that, I got involved in a relationship that turned out to be very destructive and violent. And the end result was he brutally attacked me one evening, and I took his life. And the next day, I had to go back to that apartment to meet with the detectives. My mom was driving, and she said, "Well, why don't we stop and get a beer and help you relax a little bit before you go meet these people?" In the matter of maybe 30 miles, I drank almost a 6-pack. I never stopped drinking from that point for 9 solid months. I ended up going to Florida after the investigation and everything was over from the death. I moved to Florida, and I drank, and this friend of mine said to me, "If you don't get your act together, I want you out of here." I had no place else to go. So I made a phone call to the counselor that I had seen prior to all this stuff happening, and I told her what was going on, and she said, "I want you back here. I want you in my office within the week." So I came back to Maine, and I went to her office, and she said, "You've got too many eggs in one basket for me to handle. I think you need to go into treatment." And it was there that I discovered what alcoholism was. And I met some really, really, really sweet people. Got very attached to a lot of them. I didn't get a sponsor. I didn't do all the stuff that they recommend for recovery. I just didn't drink. And I remained that way for like 10 years. Then I got this thought in my head, well, it's been so long, there's no reason why I can't have one. And I did drink that one beer, and I gave the rest of it to my younger sibling and his girlfriend, and they finished it off, and I was good, I thought. What I didn't know is that I had kicked in that little chemical that says drink more. Moved in with my daughter, her ex-husband, her new husband, 3 children, and her ex-husband's family. I knew if I was up here among them people, I could drink. Nobody would ever question it. And I started hanging out in the bars again. I was also seeing a counselor. She had to go on vacation, so I was asked if I would see this intern, and I said sure. And he recommended that I go to the barn for a meeting. And I got there like 10 minutes to 12. Just in time for a noontime meeting. And that was almost 4 years ago. And I haven't left that place since. And at the time that I was working at the barn, there was going to the barn, there was a different volunteer coordinator there. She was also my sponsor. What I didn't know is that she was preparing me for the job that I now have. I did not want to be the coordinator. I didn't want the responsibility is what I didn't want. And I was very, very fearful that I'd fail. And I finally applied for it and was fortunate enough to get it. And I have now been the volunteer coordinator for a little over 2 years. There's really nothing about my life at all that I would change. Even all the chaos and the drama and the pain, because I am now able to look at another young woman and say, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to. So many things that I never knew I was capable of has come out from being sober and being in recovery. It's easy to be sober. It really is. I did it for 10 years. But being in recovery is work. You gotta have a passion for yourself and other people. I'm very, very, very fortunate that this disease hasn't affected my kids in the chemical way. They don't drink, they don't do drugs, they don't even smoke cigarettes. They're very well employed, very awesome parents. It's mind-blowing to me that somebody that comes from where I come from can produce 3 children like that and 9 grandchildren that are pretty freaking awesome too. There are days when I just sit and cry because I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix problems. And then there are days where it's like, this is why I do what I do. This is why I'm in recovery. This is why I go to meetings. This is why God has put me where I'm at.